everyone, and welcome back to our channel. So today we have the lovely Stephanie Cervantes, LMSW. Stephanie, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So Stephanie is one of our therapists here. She's a bilingual therapist as well. Tell us, Stephanie, a little bit about the journey you had getting here.
Yeah, so I've been at Modern Jane. I think I'm about to have 2 years. I started off part time, and here in the summer recently, I transitioned full time. And so I'm excited to be able to do that now full time. And so I really just enjoyed, being here, the team here, and kind of like the mission and goal that we have, right? Of like serving our bilingual or Hispanic community.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're super glad that you're here full time. It's nice seeing you all the day, every day.
Yeah, that's different, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's nice. But also I know you are Hispanic, correct? Right?
Hmm.
And you're also first generation.
Correct.
So what does first generation mean to you?
Yeah, I think growing up as like first gen, right? So like being the first one in my family, either to go to college, right? To do certain different experiences maybe that they didn't have, right? I think that was very um obviously it was came with its own struggles, right?
Mhm.
But I think overall, right, I learned a lot through that, right? Either but like navigating it myself, right?
Mhm.
Or encountering people that were going through similar struggles, right?
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's hard, right? But I think it teaches you a lot, right? On asking questions, right? Just being able to maybe take up space, right? Where you're not used to seeing people that are
Mhm.
like Hispanic or look like you, right?
Yeah. And so how does first gen differ from I guess other people who have been here longer,
Yeah. Yeah, I think the experiences are a little bit different,
right?
right?
Mhm.
I think the stress is different, the pressure's different.
Mhm.
Maybe your identity, right?
Mhm.
Maybe there's trying to find your identity, right? And what that looks like to you, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it comes with its own internal struggles
Mhm.
and family struggles as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're navigating, your family's raising you a certain
Mhm.
way, the same way they've been raised for
Yes.
generations, right? And they're raising you a certain way, but you're in America, right? And America comes
Hmm.
with its own values, its own beliefs. You're learning your own values and beliefs, which may conflict with
Yeah.
what you grew up with. And having to figure out what do I want, right? Or who am I? Because I wasn't born, or I wasn't raised in that country, but then I was raised here, but I'm still, that's still part of my
Hmm.
identity. It's like, who am I,
Yeah. Where do you
right?
fit in?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I don't belong here, or here, right? But I'm still somewhere
Yeah. So, seeing where you fall in between that, right? Like either, having different, maybe you end up growing up with certain values, right? Beliefs. And then as you get older, right? Maybe as you go through certain experiences, whether through like, public school, college, whatever it might be,
in between.
right?
Yeah.
Maybe you start to get different,
Mm-hmm.
values, viewpoints, or whatever it might be, right?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of maybe conflict with some of that.
Exactly. And as I can speak for Hispanic cultures, being Hispanic myself.
Hmm.
It's challenging, right? It's
Yeah.
challenging because you're having to challenge what you were raised with and then
Hmm.
having to talk to your parents or talk to your
Yeah.
family members. Actually, I don't agree with you.
Yeah. So,
They might not react well to change,
yeah.
right? You might get some pushback. And
Mhm.
so, Steph, what advice would you give to people who have to have that conversation with their parents of like,
Yeah.
actually, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah. I think probably gonna have to have some hard conversations, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so trying to be patient as far as maybe changing your family, basically being able to understand, right, where you're
Yeah.
maybe coming from, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're not gonna get it right away, right? And
Yeah.
so being patient as far as okay, like they weren't raised that way, and
Mm-hmm.
so they don't maybe know where I'm coming
Mm-hmm.
from, right? And so just opening up maybe those conversations, right? Giving them patience,
Mm-hmm.
um, I would say just starting there, right?
Mhm.
Not sure if you have any other tips that you felt like
No,
have been
yeah.
helpful or
Uh-huh. I think that's great. Is just opening the conversation and letting them know, like, actually, I don't think the same way you do, or I
yeah,
don't believe that exact same thing. And, at first they might be like, what do you mean? Like, how are you not gonna, we've always been
yeah,
taught this, or you grew up learning that. But like you said, give them some time and space,
yeah. And I
right?
think it's okay, right? Like
Yeah.
you might disagree with them on certain things, right?
Like you don't have to agree with them on everything, right? Definitely give them time, space to adjust, because this is something that they're also having to accept, right? Maybe they
Mm.
also had ideas that you were going to do certain things, and now they're having to change that, right?
Yeah.
Which might you might be like, well, why did they think I was going to grow up doing that?
Mm.
Well, like they're still human, right? Like this is
Hmm.
also their first time being
Yeah,
parents,
I think that's a good point.
so they're also kind of having to navigate this, and especially when it coming to the mental health side of things, right?
Yeah.
In Hispanic communities, I feel like more, we have been talking about mental health more. You do hear it a little bit
Hmm.
more, right? They are
Yes.
starting to know more about it, but there is still
Stigma.
some
Yes.
stigma. Yeah, there is still stigma behind it. So if you're feeling a little bit more sad, more anxious, and you don't know how to talk to your parents about that, opening the conversation and also
Yeah.
educating them, right?
Yeah. So yeah, it might take time, right? On having those conversations, right? Or
Hmm.
maybe you don't know what you're experiencing, right? Um, Maybe you don't know you're having anxiety, depression, and you might not necessarily know what's going on, right? If
Yeah.
it's one of those topics that's not openly talked about in your family, right?
Mhm.
And so whether that's just maybe we don't talk about our feelings, right? We kind of, can maybe, right, at least start to have those conversations, right?
Mhm.
And whether you want to start having those conversations like alone or
Mm.
maybe having somebody else, right,
Mm.
help you with that conversation, right, whether it's like sibling or somebody that you trust, right.
Yeah.
um so they might not necessarily understand it right away, right,
Yeah.
but at least taking the time, like, hey, I've noticed this. I've noticed I felt stressed, or I've
Mhm.
noticed I felt more anxious, right? Or this is going on, right? Like, this is
Mhm.
what's been going on, right? Having those conversations and just kind of letting them know, right? Because it is hard.
Yeah. And like especially if you go and they're like, "What do you mean?" You're like, "Why are you sad? Just be happy, right?" Or like, "Go
Yes.
outside," or it's those phones again.
Just work
Sometimes it is the
harder.
phones, or work harder, yeah.
Hmm.
But it's letting them know, no, actually, it's more than just that, right? Like I've been
Yes.
feeling like this for a while. Like I'm just, trying to talk to you about it, right? And educating them, right? Because if they don't have any prior education, no one ever taught them about emotions or how to talk about it, they don't know how to navigate it, right? And so you bringing in this new knowledge to them, it's like, whoa,
Yeah, like they
I
don't
don't. What
know.
do I do here, right? Like I don't
Mhm.
know what to do if my kid is telling me they're depressed or that they have suicidal ideations.
Yeah.
Like it might be a lot for them. So also giving them that time and space to adjust to this new.
Yeah. I think, right, like you mentioned, right? Maybe like we don't talk about mental health, right, in the same way that we
Hmm.
talk about physical health,
Yeah.
right? And so them having to kind of like learn that
Hmm.
as well with you, right?
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it can be frustrating, right? But just kind of, giving them a little grace,
Hmm.
right? I think can kind of help too, right? Like
Yeah.
we're all human, right?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. I really like how you mentioned you related it to physical health, right? Just
mhm.
like we worry when it comes to physical health, like, oh, they have cancer, they have this illness
Mhm.
or whatever, you really worry. Well, same with mental health, right? Like
Yeah,
if you have this going on, you can still check up on that person, right?
yeah. And so, right, we would want somebody like a family member, right, that's going through a health condition or,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's like diabetes, anything like that, right? We would tell them like, hey, go to the doctor,
Mm-hmm.
go talk to them about it, right? Get some help, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the same way we kind of want to think about, mental health,
Yeah.
or everything's connected, right? Our
Mhm.
minds are connected to our bodies, right? And
Mhm.
so, like, a lot of times, right, maybe we have some physical symptoms, and
There you
really
go.
it can be like mental health related, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And what are some that you would say could show as physical symptoms, right?
Yeah.
And are related to mental.
Yeah, maybe, a lot of times I hear my chest feels really tight, right?
Mm.
My chest feels really
Mhm.
tight. So maybe they think, oh, something's going on with my heart.
Mhm.
So chest feeling really tight, right?
I can't breathe
Um,
whenever my
can't
chest is
breathe,
tight.
right? Some of
My
those feeling
stomach hurts.
shaky.
Mhm.
Yeah, a lot of stomach issues, right? That you
Mhm.
see those commonly with anxiety, right? So just like some of those
Yeah.
physical symptoms, right? And so they can sometimes present as, we think maybe it's something physical, but it might be really mental health related. We just don't
Mhm.
know, right? That's why it's important to kind of talk that through with a professional.
Yeah, exactly. And if you are thinking about therapy or, you've thought about it before, we like to say, I mean, just thinking about it shows that, maybe you need you need a little bit more help, right?
Mhm.
Therapy is not necessarily just for people like you see in the shows or the movies, like the people who have a severe mental illness. Like therapy can be for anyone, right? Even just a small adjustment or those big life changes, whether it's like going from high school to college, right? And you're really nervous, you're really stressed out, having this big change. Therapists can help you in navigating those stressors too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think one of the things that we don't think of sometimes is like big changes, right?
Mhm.
Like maybe we think it has to be like something related to depression, anxiety, I mean.
Mhm.
But big changes too, right? Can make us
Yeah.
really stressed, or just, randomly come up in life. So
Mhm.
those can affect us too, right?
Yeah, and learning how to navigate those
Yeah.
too. And even talking to your therapist about, hey, like my parents don't know I'm here in therapy. Like, how do I how do I tell them
Yeah.
about that? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think they might, like we talked about, right? They might not know what therapy is, right? Or like
Mhm.
maybe their viewpoint is a little bit different, like you said, like maybe what they see in movies or
Mhm.
shows, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Which we know is not necessarily the case. Sorry.
Mhm.
Um, and so maybe bringing awareness, right,
Yeah.
on really like this is what it looks like, right? Or really this
Mhm.
is what mental health is,
Mhm.
right? Having those conversations, right?
Yeah.
Um, Maybe just trying to like normalize it a little bit, right?
Mhm.
Like not just I'm going through this, right? We know a lot of people, right? That a lot of people do go through this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. And helping them understand that it's normal to have these big emotions,
Yes.
right? Like just like it's normal to feel happy and angry, it's normal to, go through this stuff too and navigate these stressors. And, sometimes you feel a lot more sad and it's okay, right? We're navigating it.
Yeah.
So I think these are great points that you mentioned. And then also, relating back to kind of those struggles you have as a first gen, I think a big one is imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell me kind of what imposter syndrome is and what it is to people who have never been
Okay.
here before?
So yeah, I guess I would kind of describe imposter syndrome as kind of being like not feeling like you quite belong in certain spaces, or maybe you feel like you're not doing enough, or maybe you kind of minimize like your successes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe it's just not like maybe you just don't feel quite like it's enough, or maybe yeah, like certain places or spaces that you're in, just you kind of feel out of place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it can also be especially tricky when you're the only first generation, the
Yeah.
first Hispanic in a room full of people who are
Yes.
not that, right? That can
Can be
especially feel
intimidating. Yes.
intimidating. And it's like, I don't know if I belong
Yeah,
here, right?
for
But
sure.
then, also kind of reminding yourself that I do belong here, right? Like I have worked hard. I've done the work. I've
Yeah.
done everything that I need to do to be here. So why don't I deserve the exact same title or same position
Yeah.
to be here as they do?
Yeah. I think those are valid points, right? That we need to tell ourselves more of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just that you belong in that space, right? You're in that space for a reason, right? Whether that's to help someone else that kind of has had similar struggles, right? I think
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very empowering, right? When you walk into the room and you can see somebody that looks like you, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's That can be very powerful.
Yeah. And that's a strength, right? You're the first
Hmm.
person that to do that, right? The first person to be there out of the people that look like you. Like
Yeah,
that's
a
awesome.
big thing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and especially here at MJ, it's like we
yeah,
are huge about being bilingual therapists, right? And
yeah,
so, I think like what we have 12 bilingual therapists.
yeah. We have, I think, a lot. Yeah,
We have a lot, and so we
yeah.
really try to help out people who are Christian or even adults
Hmm.
that when they come in here, they're like, oh, she looks like me, like
Yes.
she speaks the same language,
Hmm.
helping those barriers too,
Yeah,
right?
and I think even like if it's your first time, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I think it also helps with just feeling comfortable, maybe, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it can still be like nerve wracking, right? But like, oh, my therapist looks like me. My therapist maybe
Mm-hmm.
has had similar struggles or understands my culture, right?
Yeah.
In some aspect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not everything, but like,
In some
hmm.
aspects, yeah. They're great points that you make, Stephanie. And one last thing that I wanted to ask is, what advice would you give to those who are going through this on their own, right? Like they're just figuring it out. What advice would you give?
Yeah, I think the advice I would give, right, is ask questions, right? Lean on your people,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think one of the things that we talked about, right, with imposter syndrome is telling yourself, what you would tell your friend, right, if they were
Mm-hmm.
going after their, their goals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, you can do it, right? Like,
Yeah.
um, you deserve to, be in those spaces, take up space,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Try to show that same kindness we show to others,
Yes,
to
correct. I think that's really big.
ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being as nice to ourselves as we are to
Mm-hmm.
other people.
Yeah.
Because, yeah.
And I think that's a great point, especially, even if, you parents or family are against you, right? Let's say they just aren't supportive of what you're going through or what you're doing differently. Lean on your other support systems, right? Whether it may be a
Yes.
friend, whether it may be a significant other or a different family member, um, or making some yourself, right? Going and finding new
Yeah, that's what I
friends.
was going to say. Yeah. Making your own. Like, family can look differently, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Steph.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. We will see you next time, okay?
All right. Thanks.